Ludlow. Mr. Wilcoxon.
Here.
Ms. Hampill.
Here.
Mr. Holleran.
Here.
Chairman is here. Absent is Ms. Yu and Mr. Campanella. Okay, I'll read this statement into the record. As is the adopted policy of the Board of Zoning Appeals, all applicants will be granted an opportunity to make their formal presentation. The audience will then be granted an opportunity to comment, followed by questions from the board. This policy was adopted by the Board of Zoning Appeals to provide for the orderly discussion of business scheduled for consideration. The chairperson may limit repetitive debate. The first item that we need to take care of is review and approval of the minutes from the hearings held on May 19th, 2026. I assume you guys have all reviewed those, and I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the May
Okay,
19th minutes.
second?
Second.
Okay, motion, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, any revisions, anything?
No.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. And at this time, we will go into our public hearing at 7:03 p.m. And I will read the legal notice into the record, and then I will ask everyone who wishes to speak on this matter to sign in and stand. Those, Amanda and Jordan Getzky requesting approval of an area variance to construct an addition that encroaches into the required rear yard setback at 8959 Robin Hood Circle, Westerville, Ohio 43082, which this is lot 658 of Lake of the Woods, currently zoned rural residential. This is BZA case 2026-18. Those wishing to testify in this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Be seated. And the legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on June 10th, 2026 in the Delaware Gazette and posted in the Genoa Township Hall on June 1st, 2026. An attempt to mail notice of this hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made. The following are marked as Exhibits A through D: the legal notice, the sign-in sheet, the application, the staff report dated June 16, 2026, and all public comments received between May 20th and June 23rd, which I don't believe there were any, were there? No. And we will begin with Mr. Benson with the staff report.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick little history of the property. Lake of the Woods, Section 3 was platted in 1959. According to Delaware County Auditor's Site, this house was built in 1964. There is an existing accessory building and sports court on the property, which you can see on the Auditor's Site overhead there. The accessory building and the sports court were both built over the property lines when they were built. In 2008, the property owner at that time and the city of Columbus made an agreement that they would do like a land swap. So that trapezoid that's on the far west of the property is now City of Columbus property. And then the City of Columbus traded like small little triangles and rectangles of property to be able to get the sports court and the accessory building onto the property owner's property. So those are all now sitting okay on property owned by the current property owner. The township staff could not locate any approved permits for the existing structures. It's not surprising considering how old the house is, and we don't know exactly when the accessory building or the sports court were built. Sports court probably wouldn't require a permit anyways. We would just want to make sure that they're not over their impervious surface when they build items like that. And then a permit was approved on June 5th, 2026 for a swimming pool and required pool fencing. Obviously, since that was permitted just a couple weeks ago, they have not been built yet, but they are on the plans that were provided to us with the application for the variance. As far as some staff comments about the application, the applicant states on the application that the section they're seeking relief from is section 606.08. That was the correct section before we had the new zoning resolution come into effect on May 14th. The new section for that is section 603.07. So we do recommend that the board ask the applicant to make sure they're okay with changing the section number to the new section number. So that is, they're going to make sure they're on the record saying that they want to get relief from 603.07 instead of the previous 606.08. The definition of the rear lot line, according to the zoning resolution, is the line that is most parallel to the front lot line. As this lot is very irregularly shaped and it's got that curve that's right there on the curve of Robin Hood Circle. I questioned it, and Mr. Schaefer and I both looked at it, and we determined that the most parallel line would be the line that is to the north, as opposed to what could be determined as like possibly more of the general rear, which would be the one to the west. But because the northern lot line is more parallel, that counts as the rear lot line, which does kind of hamper the ability of some construction on the property. The applicant has stated that the reason that they're doing the addition is they need to convert the existing two-car garage into living space, and they want to do an addition to be able to add a two-car garage onto the end of the property, or onto the end of the house. Because in the zoning resolution, one of the requirements for a residence is they must have a two-car garage. If they were to convert the living space, they would have to add a two-car garage. In rural residential, it does not have to be attached, but they do have to have a two-car garage, so they would have to build the addition if they were to convert the current garage into living space. And according to a survey that was provided by the applicant, the existing house is 47 feet 6 inches from the lot line, so it is already encroaching into that rear setback of 50 feet. Because it was built a while ago and we don't really have any permits on file, we can't argue against it. We're calling that building as existing non-conforming, so it's not currently in zoning violation for being too close to the lot line. We did send copies of the application to police, fire, and maintenance. Fire Marshal Cato did respond. He did not have any issues, and we did not hear from the other departments. And that is all I have, unless anyone has a question for me. I have not heard anything from the neighbors. We have not received any comments from anyone on the application.
Good?
Yep.
Any other questions from Mr. Benson? Okay, let's hear from the applicant. I take it you're the builder.
I am the builder, yes.
Your name, sir?
My name is Jeff Steele.
Okay. You want to briefly describe your application?
Yeah, so he covered most of the main points. The reason for the remodel is an ALS diagnosis for the wife's mom. And so that's why they're trying to convert that garage space into finished space to move her mom in with them. So that's kind of the impetus for all of this. And again, we did our best by kind of angling the garage in line with that rear line to keep ourselves from encroaching further than need be into that area. I think we kept more than 30 feet away from that rear line, so we really tried to design how that was laid out, keeping ourselves as far from that as possible, given the existing circumstances of the house already being within that setback. So.
Right, and what you're going to convert is the garage, just the garage only?
The existing two-car garage is being converted to finished space to provide a bedroom for the mother-in-law to move in.
And is it a typical 20 by 20 garage?
I believe it's 24 by 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so
it's
still
24
fairly
deep.
standard then. Okay, I don't really have a lot of questions. Anybody questions for the applicant?
The addition and the garage would be constructed at the same time?
I'm not 100% sure about that. If they aren't at the exact same time, it would be within months of each other. the remodel, they want to do that as quickly as possible to get her mom moved in. So I don't want to submit a permit until we have everything ready to go on either one of those things. And we've done a lot more work on the remodel since we were just waiting for this official zoning variance approval for the garage before we moved forward with those drawings, so.
And Mr. Benson, is there like a time frame in which you have to have the garage technically built?
As long as we would have a permit that was approved that says they are going to have a garage while they are redoing the existing garage, we would count that as okay.
Okay.
And we wouldn't go after them for a zoning violation for that.
So before the final sign off on the.
Yeah, so if you get approval tonight, you can submit for your zoning application. And if you have an approved application or an approved permit for the two-car garage addition, you could go ahead and do the remodel of the living space before you build the garage. Staff would not go after you for violating the not having a two-car garage at that time because we know that you are in the process of constructing it.
Okay. And I could probably submit the zoning application for the garage at the same time that, I don't think the remodel requires a zoning permit because we're not
Correct.
making any changes to
Correct.
the exterior,
Yep.
Yeah, we could submit, I believe we have everything we would need to submit for the zoning application for the garage. I don't know that we have everything ready for the building permit yet. So that would be the thing that would be waiting on.
I would defer to staff on that, but I was just curious. That's it for me. Anyone else?
How does this blend into the character of the neighborhood?
The character of the neighborhood is very varying. There's all sorts of, I actually live in the neighborhood, which is how I know them. But there's all sorts of different architecture in there. The house to the left is brand new and is a very modern elevation, but the rest of them are, there's smaller houses, there's sprawling ranches, there's all sorts of different design styles and whatnot.
Okay. Anybody? Anyone? Anything? Okay. All right, then I'll open it to public comment. Name and address, please.
Rick Whelan, 9500 Britton Woods Drive, Galena. I'm here to provide some testimony to the board on behalf of the residents of Genoa Township. On this application, we're missing a lot of information. There's no measurements on the tennis court or the accessory building. There's no setback measurements on the drawing. The survey is not a registered survey there's no survey stamp on it, which should be required by our staff before you guys see this stuff, so that you have stuff that you can depend on. There's no north arrow on the survey plot plan that you guys have. Also, Paul mentioned something about impervious surfaces. There's no calculations on this staff report for impervious surfaces. And I believe when you do calculate the impervious surfaces, they will be over the 25% that's allowed per section 603.09B. So I want to make sure you guys check into that stuff. Another major issue on this is this lot is in the Hoover Watershed Overlay District, which falls under section 7 of our zoning resolution. And you've got an article in there, 703.03A1, that says there's a 50-foot wide build zone on any property adjacent to the city of Columbus. I don't know how the swimming pool got put in there. I don't know how the shed got put in there. I believe the shed or whatever might have been put in back in 2008. And that was before we might have had the Hoover Watershed. But now that we do, stuff has to abide by it. Also on this application, you're allowing the applicant, it seems like, to change the zoning text that they're required for or whatever here without having the proper notice sent out. I don't think you can do that legally if they want to refile or whatever and get the right information, because it needs to be notified 10 days before to the public. You can't just change it here at a meeting. There is also a different angle that you can build on this property. The house was built too close to the one side originally and encroaches over the building line. The homeowner bought it knowing that. I'm a builder. I can design another thing on the other side of this house with a mother-in-law suite and stay out of that build zone 100%. Thank you for your considerations.
Okay, thank you. Paul, do you want to address the impervious surface? Because just on its face, based on what we have, even including the pool, I think it's still, we've got 1.3-ish acres
Mhm.
roughly. And I don't think we're anything remotely
So-
close to being over.
I've had multiple discussions with Mr. Steele on the impervious surface. I made sure that the impervious surface calculation was correct when the pool went in. He has informed me that they are going to take out half of the sports court. It's not going to be a full tennis court. It's going to be, I believe they're moving it down to pickleball court size, so it's not going to be as large. But the impervious surface will be covered once they do the zoning application itself. The impervious surface does not matter as far as the setback.
Requirement is going to be.
Correct. It will be reviewed once they submit the zoning application for the addition.
Probably we should make that a condition of approval then if we.
They have to get approval for a zoning permit. That is one of the conditions that you usually
Okay.
mention anyways, is that they do have to get, all permits will have to be approved after the variance approval is done. And I can also mention about the Hoover Watershed Overlay, Section 703, that's for new planned residential developments. This is zoned rural residential. 703 does not apply for rural residential zoning districts.
Right, okay. Design, that is a component of the analysis, is alternatives to locating the garage as an attached garage as opposed to a detached garage that may have similar or the same utility, if you want to address that.
Yeah, there's a couple reasons for choosing that side of the home. Number one is that's where the garage is already. So it's much easier to keep the flow of the house as it is. The other reason is that all of the utilities are located on the other side of the house.
Oh, it's
So-
on septic, isn't it?
It's got a septic tank over there, it's got the electric service hookup over there, it's got the
I
gas
know most of
service,
those
the
are.
water, everything comes in through that side of the house, so that would require relocating all of that stuff. Yeah. And another comment to the impervious surface,
Uh-huh,
we were in the process of getting an official survey done when I made this submission. So we do now have an official survey, and the lot is actually almost a half acre larger than what is listed on
Oh,
the
really?
auditor's site. So if calculations were done of the square footage of all of this impervious surface, and then that was divided over the 1.3 acres listed on the auditor's site, with our survey, it's actually 1.8 acres is what the official surveyor has come back with.
okay,
So,
well, that makes a difference
Yeah.
then, too. Okay. Darn it. And something else, and of course, it's left me. Anybody have anything for the applicant, anything else?
If you wanted me to state the approval of the change from
Oh,
one
right,
code to the other
change
on
in the-
record.
In the
yeah.
code section?
We are obviously okay with that change. I believe that when I
Okay.
filled out the application originally, that was before the May 14th date. so-
Okay, yeah, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't. This is a unique neighborhood, as you know. It's a unique neighborhood, and you're right, there's a large deviation in ages, styles, of homes in this neighborhood. And it appears, based on what you gave us, it is conforming to the neighborhood. It's gonna, in style and appearance, and so, okay. I think that's all I have. Somebody want to go through Duncan versus Middlefield?
I can do that. Going through our findings of fact of Duncan and Middlefield, we've got a variety of questions to go through. The first being, would the property in question yield a reasonable return? And there can be, if there can be a beneficial use of the property without the variance. To me, there is a reasonable return without any additions or changes needed. The next one is the variance substantial or not substantial. In my opinion, it is substantial in terms of the setback difference, but it is not some of the tightest that we've seen. Any other comments from the board on that in terms of being substantial?
Well, typically, we've always considered if it was over 25% to be substantial,
Yeah.
under is not. And in this case, we're, what, about?
It's 40%. It's a 20-foot encroachment into a 50-foot setback, so it's 40% encroachment.
Oh, okay, I was
Thank you for doing the math.
the other way around.
I
Yeah,
just
that's
knew-
why I'm
I
not-
knew it
that's
was
why I
more
not
than
a math
25.
major, trust me. That's why usually when Teresa's here, she can feed it to me, because, yeah, I'm not a math guy.
So,
Okay.
And then we've got the essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered, and adjoining properties would not suffer substantial detriment as a result of the variance. As we've discussed, it seems like there's a lot of variation in this neighborhood. The addition seems like it would be in line at least with the character of the existing home. And as it's encroaching closer to the city of Columbus property that is not inhabited, there would not be a substantial detriment to any adjoining properties there. Our next question, the variance would not adversely affect the delivery of government services, and no indication there that that would be disrupted. Our next question of the property owner did or did not purchase the property with knowledge of the zoning restrictions. I'm not sure if I can speak to that, but it was purchased with the knowledge that the home was over the build line to begin with. Our next question, the property's owner's predicament can or cannot be feasibly obviated through a method other than the variance. It seems like the builder and homeowner have done the best they can given the irregularity of the lot and the desired outcome to look at different locations for the addition and weighing cost, utilities, and other factors. That seems like the design is potentially the best spot for it. And our last question to go through is the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement observed, and would substantial justice be done by granting the variance? I think, again, the homeowner and the builder have done their best to work within some irregularities and honor the spirit and intent, working with staff to even angle, that garage to have a better setback. So that is my evaluation. Anything to add from the board?
Discussion? Okay.
So we're, yeah,
ahead,
so basically we're building another room and then in a garage again. When we already have a garage, instead of just another room, we can go to the other side. You said utilities. Was
Yeah.
there any other designs? I see the one right here. Were there any other designs going towards the other side with the utilities of perhaps moving them? I know nobody likes to move their utilities, but how cost prohibitive was that?
It wasn't explored much beyond, moving the septic tank and gas service and electric and water would, each one of those could be, $10,000 and put it in the range of, $30,000 to $50,000 to move everything.
And that's to the side, right?
Yeah, all of those are on that,
So this side
correct,
right here.
yeah, this,
Was
yeah.
there any thought about going backwards?
With,
Do that.
to do to
Yeah,
add the
I don't
bedroom,
think it's possible to more-
to add the
more-
bedroom or the garage?
Bedroom.
The bedroom?
Yeah, the garage is keeping that where it is. I'm just wondering why you just didn't keep the garage and come out here with the bedroom.
Okay, Yeah, that protrusion there is a screened-in porch, not actual house, so
Okay.
we would either be adding on to a screened-in porch and kind of creating an isolated room, or would have to get rid of the screened-in porch to be able to have that new room actually attached to the house.
Okay, so it's either get rid of the screened-in porch or effectively build a new garage, because you're getting rid of your garage right now. You have to get rid of something effectively is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm just trying to look at the alternatives here. I mean, as far as the neighborhood, I think you blend in. As far as that goes, because it's such a hodgepodge.
Yeah.
I've driven past it, so that's usually one of the concerns I have is if it's gonna conform to the neighborhood. You know, it's a design preference. I'm just trying to explore alternatives.
And for what it's worth, the pool was designed and planned
Yeah, it's-
before any of this took
Yeah,
place.
this was probably
so-
built a long time ago, maybe. I mean, I can't, knowing what I know, it could have been built last year, it could have been built 20 years ago, for all I know.
So entry into the home from the new garage,
Mhm.
how does that work?
The existing garage does not cover that full length of connection between the new garage and the existing home. There is kind of like an office in the back there that they're planning to convert into a mudroom that you can enter into from the garage.
Thank you.
And is there a leach field because of the septic tank?
No, they have a direct discharge jet aeration system currently.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve?
It's all you then.
So at the top of page
Go ahead
4,
and just read this section.
Sure.
Okay. Motion for approval, move to incorporate exhibits A through E, as well as the board's findings pertaining to the review of section 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution into evidence and to approve the requested variance from section 603.07 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution for BZA 2026-18, application received May 20th, 26, to allow for an addition to encroach. How many feet is it going to encroach?
32.6.
32?
No, they're asking for a 20-foot encroachment. So a 20-foot encroachment, yeah, for a 30-foot setback.
Into the required 50-foot rear setback on property known as Lot 657 in Lake of Woods, 8959 Robin Hood Circle, Westerville 43082, zoned rural residential. This motion is based on the following findings of fact pursuant to section 307.04 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. That such variance or modification will not be contrary to the public interest because the home will still be conforming to the neighborhood and there has been no neighborhood negative impact. That owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of this zoning resolution will result in an unnecessary hardship because the homeowners have expressed the need for continued occupancy due to a medical issue. That the approval of such variance or modification thereof is consistent with the spirit of the zoning resolution and substantial justice shall be done thereby because, wow, that's a mouthful. Because the spirit of the zoning resolution is to allow occupancy of the subject property. Keep
Okay,
going.
Keep going.
Okay, approval of the subject variance is subject to the owner's agreement to the following conditions. Number 1, all required permits, zoning, or otherwise be obtained. Number 2, pursuant to section 307.12 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, the approved variance shall lapse, expire, and be null and void Ab initio, if required zoning permits are not obtained within 1 year of this motion of approval, extensions to this variance may be requested pursuant to sections 307.12A and B of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as may be amended. The Board of Zoning Appeals does grant the Genoa Township zoning inspector authority to extend this variance at their discretion, subject to the deadlines established within sections 307.12A of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as may be amended. And number 5, I believe there's the update to the application, correct? With the correct
No, I think you covered that.
paragraph, or does that already, the
Yeah, I think you covered
307.12?
You're good.
Okay.
Second? Anyone?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, discussion?
No?
None?
Other-
And I asked most of my questions. I didn't know if anybody else had any. I've already asked my questions. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Then I'll call a vote. Ms. Hampel,
Yes.
Mr. Holleran,
No.
Ms. Ludlow,
Yes.
Mr. Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming out. Okay, and the hearing is closed at 7:33. And we will have our guest now. Introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. Michael Bull, I'm an assistant prosecutor over at the Delaware County Prosecutor's Office. I've been assigned Genoa as one of my township clients. The word training may be a bit of an exaggeration for why I'm here today. But one of the things we like to do is, especially as boards rotate members in and out, pop in maybe once in a while and make sure if you all have any questions, we answer them. And to just go over a few things that maybe we've seen from different zoning boards across the county. One thing I will say I want to congratulate you on is the way you all handled the Duncan Middlefield in your hearing, I thought was very well done. One of the maybe confusions about is how that all gets applied. I think you guys did a nice job going through each factor. The key with that, not to say something you already know, but just to reemphasize, is it's a balancing act, meaning it's not a 4-3, okay, we have to vote yes, we have to vote no. I like to use the example, if 6 factors are a favor, but the one is, which one was it? The impact on governmental services, like, hey, we can't get the fire truck in there now. Okay, maybe that weighs so heavily that even though 6 other are in our favor, we're not looking forward to voting yes on that. So
We had a case like that.
it happens, right, yeah.
Years ago.
And the main idea is, I think sometimes boards get caught in 2 areas. One, they say, oh, number 2 failed, and I can't vote for this now. Well, that's not necessarily true if the others, right? Or they say, well, I really don't like it, and I feel really bad about it, but it's 4-3, so I think I have to vote for it. That's not the case either. Compared to like a land use variance, which is a much more rigid test, I think there are 3 factors there, and if you fail any, it's denied. So the other emphasis I want to do, and this case proved to be a good example, is this is a non-exclusive list of factors. For example, in the case we just heard, they said one of the primary reasons they were doing this was the mother had an ALS diagnosis. That is something the board is allowed to consider as a weight on whether they want to grant or deny the application. It is.
And we've had actually a couple of those.
Right. I think the one case I read, it was something about like they were trying to build a house or build an extension, and the idea was it was either parents could live close to them or the parents were far away, and that was a weight.
We've had that. We also had somebody that wanted to add on, actually very similar to this.
Yeah.
Where they wanted to extend the garage out and add living quarters so that it was handicapped accessible because the rest
Sure.
of the house was not.
And that isn't to say you have to grant that if that comes through, but that is something you can weigh. So when you're going through the factors, you could say, okay, it's really close. and we just got this diagnosis. They're doing their best. They're really in a tough situation. We kind of think that that weighs heavier and we should grant it. Or, look, I understand what you're going through. It's tough, but all these other factors doesn't overwhelm that, so we're still voting no, right? So you have the option, but the key there is it's a non-exhaustive list. You have some choices there. Couple other things we're just seeing, we'll just hit real quick on some of the other townships. You guys did a good job in this one. It wasn't a highly contested one, but making sure that one person speaks at a time, especially when we have larger crowds. If this were ever to get appealed, you'd want to get a transcript, and court reporters have aneurysms when 6 people are speaking, right? That's the other reason we want to go through all the 7 factors, because if, for example, you were to deny this one and it get appealed, the court's going to look at how did you analyze these 7 factors and other things such as factors, and how did you apply them? We had a township that I think had some valid reasons for denying a zoning appeal once, but they only really listed the one factor they didn't like in their facts of findings. So when the court read the transcript, they said, well, looking at your written decision, you've really only addressed one factor, and overturned it. And the township, as you can imagine, was not overtly happy with that decision. So keeping it all out there, spelling out everything the way you did in this, and kind of staying disciplined, even though it is a little monotonous at times, I think is the key to avoiding judicial heartache down the road, is what we'll call that. Other things that have come up recently in terms of, again, this hearing, not a lot of public comment. If it is going to be a more contested hearing, you are able to limit public comment. You just have to make sure you do that across the board and treat everybody equally. Not a shock there. What else am I hearing? Believe it or not, AI is something that we have to talk about. Everyone's favorite topic. We've had some townships that have talked about, well, how can we use AI in this? Some people like to use it to help kind of organize their thoughts. That's fine. What you can't do is use it as your written decision. You can use it as an aid in terms of help me organize my thoughts, help me make sure I'm covering everything I need. What we can't do is say, here's our written decision. It's all written by Google Gemini. Thank you very much. Again, something we don't think we should talk about, but I've had the question in other townships, so we're just making sure when we go around, we're making sure everyone kind of is on the same page with that. Mostly common sense, but those are kind of the big things that we've seen in our office. I want to make sure all of you, know I exist. If you have questions, you are free to contact us or reach out to Paul or Joe, and they can get with us. We're not going to come to every hearing because I don't think you need that. But but what happens is sometimes you're like, hey, this is going to be a weird hearing. We'd like someone from the prosecutor's office there.
We have had instances in the past.
Yep. We're happy to continue to do
Yeah,
that
where
on a
we
request.
need legal counsel for
Sure.
one thing or another, yes.
And again, this one maybe wasn't the most contentious one, but there are options where, hey, the board's going to go into an executive session and deliberate, where I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but we can maybe go over those factors again, and then you can come out and deliberate and give your answer. So
Have any of you guys been in, I know you two haven't, you weren't here, you weren't here for one. We've only ever had one case where we went into executive session, and I think we did it, because we had at least 2 hearings on the application. I
Yeah.
think we went in on both. So, or on both meetings, and that's the only time I can ever remember us doing it.
it's always easier if you can do what you did today, just
Yeah.
discuss it in public and move
Yeah.
on. But sometimes when you want to conflate, especially, we heard a lot of testimony in these cases. We want to make sure we're focusing on what we're supposed to focus on, narrow up, that's fine. That's your prerogative as a board. And again, like I said, not something needs to happen every time. It's kind of a rare circumstance. And again, if you need us, let us know. We're happy to be here and walk you through the steps and make sure you're on the same page. Do the board have any questions? I'm not anticipating anything crazy, and I don't want to open myself up too much, but, but if there's anything that you guys have been meaning to ask or concerns about, we're happy to address as well.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
please.
I'm new girl, so bear with me, okay? So I have a question about fines. So if somebody is determined to be, like, they need a variance, and the variance is rejected.
Sure.
If and when and how is a fine instituted against the property owner?
Yeah, so that'd be a good question for your zoning staff in terms of their policy on that. There's no set law that says thou shalt issue fine 30 days after BZA hearing. Normally, at that point, the staff's pretty much in contact with them regularly speaking, and we normally issue at least one more warning letter before we'd issue a fine, if that makes sense.
So does the fine, it comes from your office?
No, ma'am, that comes from the township.
So we have a set fine of up to $500 a day. But from what I understand from other legal discussion, is that's really up to the judge on how much they would be fined. They could be fined up to $500 a day, but if the judge determines it's not that egregious of a zoning violation, they can charge them $1 a day or just do a $10 fine. It's really up to the
And
judge
it
to
becomes
make
kind
a
of laborious
decision,
going
so.
through the courts to get a ruling on that, which is why we exhaust every option prior to doing that. We, sometimes your staff will send out letters. When it gets really rubber meets the road, our office sends out letters with the prosecutor letterhead saying, hey, you're in violation, call Joe because this needs fixed, right?
It also has to go through the Board of Trustees. They have to approve
Correct.
any sort of zoning violation to move on to the prosecutor's office, and then it would go to the prosecutor's office for the actual court case.
By the time they're getting fined, they've been given many letters and opportunities to amend the issue. Yeah.
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 Okay. I will say that I've been on the board a long time. Just put it that way.
A little bit.
I don't want to, yeah. And I will say that staff is extremely supportive of this board, extremely reactive. When we have a question, they're very good about getting back to us. And I think that is one of the many things that makes this board work. And there's a little bit of history too.
Sure.
Before, it's not about me, it's about the chairman that were sitting here when I came on the board. And they started the ball rolling and kind of made it become what it has become.
Well, and I'm not telling anything you don't know again, but this township is very blessed to have the staff you do have. There's many townships that have one part-time zoning inspector
Yes.
who's doing everything. Now, they maybe are smaller, but land-wise, a lot of land to cover still.
I'm
And
very aware. I
and
was
those
a
those are tough situations, right? You know.
real estate appraiser in the day, and let me tell you, trying to get a hold of a zoning inspector in some of these townships in 2009, 10, 11,
Right.
not easy.
Many have other jobs, many are running around trying to get the letters out, but you have a great staff in Genoa, so there's no reason not to continue to rely on them.
Okay.
Question?
Anything else?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
do have a question.
Please.
So I previously served on the City of Westerville BZA, and our motions and some of finding of facts and everything was a little less rigid in terms of
Sure.
what the kind of script almost is that you need to follow. Is there any opportunity for shortening any of the motion language as you could see?
Yeah,
that would
having
fall
heard
on-
Lisa try to read through all that,
Yes.
It was painful.
I think it could maybe be simplified a little bit if that was the board's desire. A lot of what she put could just be in the written decision, I think, and
Yes.
be okay.
Okay. because we would.
I don't
say-
think there was anything wrong with that motion necessarily, but you could maybe simplify it a little bit and still get to where you need in terms of the decision here today.
Okay, because we would typically,
Right.
motion to approve, you would say the exhibits, the actual sections, what variance number it was, and kind of like as so written, or,
Sure.
kind of language like that to sum it up. And it just made it a little less painful. So I was curious on your thoughts.
You could, and then maybe people would be less afraid to motion to vote, so.
Good job.
But that's obviously up to the board's decision, but
Okay.
yes, theoretically, this is not like, here's what every township uses as their motion. You have a lower leeway there.
Okay. Well, that's something we can discuss at another time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to help. All good?
Well, thanks for coming down.
Yeah, happy to be here. Like I said, if you need me, give me a call. Obviously, hope not to hear from you, but so happy to do what we need. So yeah,
Yeah, we haven't needed anybody for a while. so-
that's normally a good thing, right?
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah, once in a while we
Yeah.
do.
But we'll pop by once in a while just to check in and make sure everything's going well. But
Sure.
we're
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, well, thanks. Unless
Thank you.
anybody's got something in it. Paul, anything? No?
No, I was just going to mention, for your July hearing, you do have the continued hearing for the Worthington properties and Rome Corner property. The deadline for applications is not until next Tuesday, so I don't know if we have any new applications for that. I will tell you, I am going to be out of town on that day, so you will probably have Mr. Schaefer here for staff instead.
We'll try and get along.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm working around, I intend to be here for the July meeting because I know it's kind of a complex situation. And I'm working around, I got 3 or 4 things. I got 3 or 4 balls in the air right now that I'm juggling. So, okay, thank you. At this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? We're adjourned.